Hi, thanks for being in a new video. This time I have first impressions of the newly introduced Samsung Galaxy S25 FE. Let's get started. This is the newly revamped entry model of the S25 family. As you might already know, FE stands for Fan Edition, in case some of you weren't aware. I mention this because it's a device aiming to adjust its price slightly. And as a result, it will attempt to trim certain features. Typically, there aren't many significant reductions impacting the end-user experience, so for anyone in search of a high-end device, this could indeed be an intriguing option. However, it should be noted that Samsung is making only a few advancements at the hardware level, meaning it won't be a huge revolution compared to the previous model. In fact, they share many similar features, yet there are still some changes that I will discuss with you in a moment. But how about we begin by discussing the design in detail? Because, as you may notice, in this instance, the design resembles a very minimalist Galaxy, lacking any contour for the cameras and featuring a completely flat back cover. But in this case, they have now gone for a thinner design, like the whole current Samsung trend, so that we will now find ourselves with a thickness of 7.4 millimeters. For reference, the last generation had a thickness of 8 millimeters, so it is thinner and therefore also lighter, reaching 190 grams in weight, when before it was 213 grams. The material? It has evolved on the sides. It is still aluminum, but now it is the same reinforced aluminum that Samsung uses throughout the Galaxy S25 series. It's far tougher than the previous generation. In this case, it maintains IP68 as its level of water and dust resistance, which is fine. We can't complain about that, although it has to be said other manufacturers are already starting to incorporate IP68, so they even dare to recommend taking pictures underwater. And these kinds of things that at the time were very controversial with IP68. So, again, here you can see how Samsung is not taking so many steps forward. In this particular case, there are only a few units available at the location where I am currently recording. The one I have with me right now is the Jet Black Color Edition. Additionally, it will be offered in icy blue, navy, and white. Therefore, the color palette is considerably more subdued compared to the previous generation at the very least. The screen remains unchanged from the last generation. In this instance, there is truly no advancement. It's a 6.7-inch Dynamic AMOLED 2X with Full HD resolution and 120 Hz, which can adapt down to 60 Hz when viewing static content. It also features Samsung's Vision Booster technology, enhancing readability in bright sunlight conditions. However, as you might notice, it continues to have reflective glass, unlike the Ultra model, which boasts a significantly more premium glass. In this situation, the bezels aren't fully symmetrical, even though the top and sides have reduced bezels. The bottom bezel remains a bit thicker, although it utilizes the screen space well. However, this is one of the areas where the device trims down to reduce costs. When it comes to sound, there are no theoretical differences, but it would be essential to put it to one-to-one test to see if it sounds better or worse than the last generation. They haven't mentioned specifics, so expect similar sound to the last generation. However, where we see some improvements is in the front camera, because in this instance we are discussing a resolution of 12 megapixels. To give you some context, previously the camera was 10 megapixels, and now it features an aperture of f2.2. Despite this upgrade, it's important to note that the focus remains fixed. This is an area where I believe there could have been some enhancements to offer a bit more evolution and change. Since it serves as an entry point to the high-end market, I think it would have been a beneficial addition. When you have a fixed focus, it means that if you get too close to the camera, you might appear slightly out of focus. However, this focus seems beneficial to me, and it also offers a decent range. With more light coming in and a higher resolution, it should theoretically produce higher quality images. Additionally, in this instance, it's well known that Samsung heavily promotes its Pro Visual Engine technology. It's said that in this generation, it's even more enhanced. For the rear, we find the same camera system as the last generation. There is no evolution, that is 50 megapixel main camera with f1.8 aperture and optical stabilization, then 12 megapixel. Ultra-wide camera with f2.2 aperture and fixed focus, and finally 8 megapixel telephoto. Camera with 3x optical zoom with f2.4 aperture and optical stabilization. So again, don't expect anything too surprising. Obviously, it will possess a very high quality for the upper end of the market. However, once again, we observe a certain stagnation from the brand in these particular areas. It should be noted that other manufacturers are integrating slightly superior technologies or more modern sensors. In this instance, Samsung is maintaining nearly the same configuration across multiple generations, which means it is not delivering full-fledged evolutions. Luckily, Samsung has gradually improved at the software level, so observe how the image quality enhances after capture due to these technologies. Samsung has heavily promoted image noise reduction tech, and in this case also compatible with the HDR technology of your screen. So it is a camera that I do not think is disappointing, but possibly will not be the best of the range, although it would have to be, put to compete one-on-one against some other rivals, because really, thanks to Samsung's software, it could get to compete in a good way. When it comes to video recording with the front camera, we have the option of recording in 4K at 60 frames per second, which is quite impressive. As for the rear camera, you can record up to 8K at 30 frames per second, but this is only available for the main camera. Alternatively, you can record in 4K at 60 frames per second, also exclusive to the main camera. If you're looking to record in 4K at 30 frames per second, you have the flexibility to use the ultra-wide camera, the main camera, or even the telephoto camera for that. By the way, Samsung's video recording is going to be in HDR, and it will feature a color depth of 10 bits to provide you with an excellent quality in your final results. Another area where we will notice enhancements over the previous generation is the battery, which is quite a positive aspect, especially when you consider that it is a cell phone that has been made thinner than its previous version and also lighter than its last version. But now, it incorporates a higher capacity battery. While it's not a revolutionary battery, considering that it is a device focused on a slim style, this is definitely a positive development. It ranges from 4,700 to 4,900 milliamp hours. That's positive. And fast charging has improved from the previous max of 25 watts. Now it goes up to 45 watts at maximum, which is again not a total revolution, but according to Samsung's figures, it would allow you to reach up to 65% of the battery in 30 minutes. This is different from the last generation, which only managed to reach around 50% in the same 30 minutes. Fortunately, Samsung gives you high-end experience in this device in the sense of wireless charging and reverse wireless charging are supported by this device, which is quite remarkable. These features are not commonly found in devices that aim to be budget-friendly. So we can definitely say that this is a standout feature of this cell phone. When it comes to software, Samsung consistently emphasizes its features, and this instance is no different. It arrives with Android 16 pre-installed and One UI 8. This is noteworthy because many devices released even around this time still feature Android 15. Samsung, however, includes the latest version on this phone and also guarantees 7 years of updates as with all its current devices. Thus, it is assuredly going to be a device with a long lifespan. By the way, I have forgotten to tell you that it has Gorilla Glass Victus, plus to protect the front here, which should also help with longevity. It must be said that the Galaxy S25 FE already received its update from One UI 7, where it added many Galaxy features that are also available from the factory on this device. What is not yet integrated on the Galaxy S25 FE is the Now Brief, which honestly does not offer us too many add-ons, nor would it be a buying factor to consider, but, well, that would be a different factor. The operating system is very well optimized, and it will certainly provide you with the latest features from Samsung. When it comes to artificial intelligence, Samsung continues to heavily promote Gemini's features. However, I honestly don't quite understand the reason for this emphasis. It's important to note that Gemini is accessible on any Android device, including even the most affordable ones. Additionally, it includes features like camera display and chatting with the AI assistant, so I don't quite understand the emphasis on promoting it as a standout feature in Samsung devices, especially since it's also present in numerous other phones. However, it should also be mentioned that Samsung is planning to offer at least 6 months of Google AI Pro, which will allow you to access more advanced features like video generation with VO3 directly on this phone. So in a way, they do provide some added benefits. Nonetheless, I honestly wouldn't consider Gemini as a standout feature of this phone, especially when all other Android devices offer it too. Samsung enhanced the software of this device with One UI 8, focusing on security with a new Knox feature. It's technical, but simply put, it ensures apps only interact with their own environment, not intruding on others' data. Samsung boosts Android security in One UI, which is different from the other Android manufacturers. I believe this is something we could emphasize as a new feature because not everyone else offers it. Let's wrap up our discussion on performance. This topic is controversial because it involves the Exynos 2400. If you follow Samsung closely, you might think, wow, this sounds familiar. Is it the same processor as the last generation? Well, yes it is. The last generation used the Exynos 2400. That was a slightly modified version with a slightly lower clock frequency, which isn't very noticeable in real life, but now we see the full version of the Exynos 2400, offering high-end performance without being the most powerful. Particularly in gaming scenarios, Exynos processors haven't given us a great impression. You've witnessed this firsthand in the content we've created. So, if you're into gaming, I believe it might not be the most appealing choice for you. However, if your intention isn't to use your phone primarily for gaming, this processor will perform efficiently in applications, social networks, and more. Multimedia content and more. A positive aspect is the addition of a 10% larger vapor chamber for improved thermal dissipation, helping the processor perform better. And the fact of incorporating an Exynos processor that is not new, while it disappoints us a little. At least we could say that it should already be a little more optimized in applications, at least in theory, but let's wait for the video review to analyze its specific behavior in this aspect. As you can see, it is a device that does not seek to be a revolution. I believe that those who already own the SF might not find it appealing because the enhancements are quite minimal. Sure, it might be lighter, thinner, and have a longer-lasting battery, but if it retains the same screen and the same cameras, then it might become somewhat more appealing to individuals who currently have the S25 FE or those with lower-range Galaxy phones wanting to enter the high end. However, let me share with you the initial launch price. Even though you might be aware that Samsung often unexpectedly offers coupons or special promotions that make the price much more appealing, I believe that the initial launch price of this device isn't quite as enticing as we might hope for. That the price is not as attractive as we would like, especially considering that the base model starts from the 128 gigabytes, a capacity that we currently only see in the low end. I think very few devices are putting this capacity in this price range. Only Google dares to put this in even more expensive prices, but well, that's another story. Globally, the basic model costs $649. In Mexico, its launch price is 15,499 pesos. But keep in mind that prices vary by region. The 256 gigabyte storage version, which is the most recommended, increases to 16,999 pesos. However, being a device that aims to compete on price, it appears that the price might not be as attractive as expected. Although I must emphasize, it is likely that in the coming days, Samsung will announce some coupons or special promotions. Therefore, I would not suggest purchasing it at the initial launch price, but it could turn out to be a good option if you manage to use a coupon or take advantage of a special promotion. By the way, in Mexico, it will be available for purchase starting on September 26, so make sure to stay tuned. I will keep you updated about it, and in case I receive any coupon, I will definitely share it with you. So, please keep an eye on all my platforms. For now, we have come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, remember you can let me know and we'll catch up next time.